Okay, so we're first gonna just show you how to turn the centrifuge on for your first time. So basically this is the back of the machine and there's a cord over here to plug it in. So you just plug it in here and then you'll see also there's a small switch which you then just turn to the on position. And the machine will turn on. You right away see the display setting. If this is your first time turning on the machine, then you'll see the lock button is on and you'll see a light on the lock button. If that's the case for your machine that it's locked, you should immediately unlock the machine. To do that, you press the unlock button on the far right, and then you'll have 15 seconds to unlock the machine. To unlock the machine, you just turn the knob and open. And we'll go over the unlock again. So again, when you first turn on your machine, the unlock button, the lock button will be on, and then you have to unlock the machine. And now your machine is ready to use. So now that your machine is ready, I just want to review the display panel to just explain the key buttons in the front of the centrifuge. The first obvious thing to notice is the basic display panel. This will show you the current setting and provide detailed information on the name of the setting and the spin cycle and the spin settings. Once it is started, once the spin cycle is actually started, this will show you the time. So you can see over here, this is giving us the solid PRF setting, 2300 RPM for 8 minutes. It gives the RCF value. And if we move to the next setting, it will show the liquid PRF, the 1200, etc. And you can go to extra settings. This machine is preset with 2 settings, and then you could then use your custom settings for another 10 different settings, just in case you want to add different settings based on different PRF protocols. The next button to notice is the start button. This is over here. Once you choose your cycle, you then make sure the machine is locked and you press the start button. This setting is the gear setting. The gear setting we recommend to not use at the start. This will help you create custom settings as well as edit any other settings on the machine. And again, we'll go through the gear setting, the custom setting in a different video. It's best not to use this until you're more familiar with the usage of the machine. This, per the prior video, is the unlock button, which you'll use to unlock the centrifuge after the cycle is done, or if it's your first time turning on the machine, you'll have to use the unlock button. Again, these arrows over here are just to change between the different settings, and you could just choose it like that. The final thing is the lock button. When the centrifuge starts, this lock button will go on, and obviously do not open the centrifuge while it's running. Just wait till it stops, and we'll go over that again in a future video. Now we're going to just review locking and unlocking the centrifuge. So first of all, you'll notice that if you try to actually start, the lid is open. If you try to actually start a cycle when the lid is open, you'll get a warning and a beep that the lid is not closed. So first we're going to, close the lid. You do that by turning clockwise, and when the lid is actually closed, you'll see a light over here on the lock button. It will be orange. Then in theory, you would start the cycle. We'll go through that in the next video. But once the cycle is done and you want to unlock it, you'll have a certain amount of time to unlock it. And you can then just press the unlock button, and you'll see it'll give you the amount of time you have to unlock it. And this is just for security reasons. So that you would just turn counterclockwise and open it up. So once again, it's locked, goes on. You want to unlock it, you'll have a certain amount of time, and then you could just unlock it. This video is about preparing the centrifuge and choosing your cycle. So after unlocking the centrifuge, you can then place the tubes that you just drew with blood into the centrifuge. Please remember to always use the blue tube holders in the centrifuge prior to placing in any tubes. The blue tubes are the ones that came with your centrifuge, and you can see how they're placed inside the centrifuge. These are very, very important. They hold the tubes that you'll be using during the spinning cycle. After you place assuming you have the tubes here, after you place the tubes into the centrifuge, you would then turn the knob on top to lock the centrifuge, and then a light will show up in the front of the centrifuge to show that it is locked. You can then use the arrows to choose the cycle that you want. The first cycle over here is for solid PRF plugs and membranes. The second cycle that's preset is for liquid PRF or IPRF. And then you have custom settings if you choose to program those custom settings, which we'll get into in the next video. You have to always remember when you're doing solid PRF, you have to use the red glass tubes from BD or from some other supplier. It has to be red glass tubes. For the liquid IPRF, you need to use the Griner white plastic tubes. So that's very, very important. If you use the wrong tubes for the wrong cycle, you won't get the result that you want. Once you actually decide which cycle you want to use, all you need to do afterwards is, again, check to make sure it's locked. You'll have the light on, and then all you need to do is press the start button. The machine then starts to warm up. On a horizontal machine, it just takes some time until the tubes actually reach a horizontal angle on a swing out. Once it starts, you'll see the time start to go down, and then you just have to wait until the cycle ends. There'll be a beep, and you could open the centrifuge, which we'll do in the next video.
Okay, so here's how we unlock the button. We're going to push the unlock button and it counts down, and we're going to grab it and twist and unlock it. I have two dummy tubes in here. These are just empty water filled to balance it. We are going to, the plan is to draw 2 IPRF tubes and 2 APRF tubes. And there's our tubes right there. So there's our tubes, 2 APRF tubes, the tubes on the left-hand side, they're plastic tubes, and 2 glass tubes filled with, the left ones are for IPRF, liquid PRF, and the right ones are for APRF. Now we're going to go ahead and insert the tubes inside. I have 2 dummy tubes. This holds only a total of 6 tubes. So there's the first one, that's the white. Now she's going to go ahead and put the white one on the opposite side of that. And now she's gonna hit the start button, which is the left button. And there it is.
So the centrifuge is about ready to finish the cycle. You could see again the time is running down. It's still showing that it's running. Again, it's very, very important not to open the centrifuge until it is completely stopped. And you'll see what happens when it stops. It first breaks, but it's not at a complete stop. So do not open the centrifuge while it's breaking. You have to wait for a complete stop. And once you hear the beep, and we'll see that right now. So there it says breaking. That doesn't mean you can open it yet. It will still say locked. It takes a couple of seconds for it to break. Now the lid is unlocked. It's at a complete stop. In order to unlock it, you press the unlock button, turn, open it up. So again, at the end of the cycle, just wait till the braking is done and you hear the beep and it says the light comes on that you could unlock it. And if you don't unlock it within 60 seconds, it will automatically lock again for security reasons. So you have to remember to open it within that 60-second time frame. In this video, we are going to show you how to program a custom cycle. To program a custom cycle, you use the arrows to move to the custom cycle. The machine is preset with 2 cycles, and you don't want to change the first 2 cycles. So you would move past the first 2 cycles and then get to a custom cycle. Let's say, number 4 we can use as the custom cycle. And then you have to wait till it flashes and you'll see it will go through, you know, what the cycle is. This doesn't mean anything because we haven't said anything yet. If we now want to change the RPM, the time, and the name, we press this little gear button in the middle of the machine. That will open up the cycle to be able to then customize it. And you move through the different customization settings by moving the right and left arrows, which is the start and lock button when you're in the gear mode. So you could see as we cycle through, there's the minutes, the braking, the beeper, and the name. Let's go through again. So we have over here, let's say we press the gear cycle, we now want it to change the RPM time. So we move the right arrow to the RPM time, and we can move it up. We can, that's down, sorry, or we can move it up. So let's say we wanted to do, I don't know, 2400 RPM for, we're just making up a cycle here, for 5 minutes. So we would put on 2400 RPM, it tells you. And then we can move the minutes. We want to move it down, so we use the arrow over here to 5 minutes. And then we move to the next setting. The next setting is braking. You have different settings over here. It's best to leave braking off on the machine right now, and that's what we recommend. Braking is just how quickly it brakes once the cycle is done. And again, for dental applications, it's best to just leave the braking off, and the machine will cool down pretty quickly after the cycle is done, and you just open it once it beeps. So we'll turn to braking off. Beeper we want to leave on. The beeper is that when the cycle ends, that it beeps and tells you that the cycle ended. That's important. It's just helpful for knowing when you could come back to the machine. Then the next setting is to actually name it, if you wanted to name it, and you name it by going to the up and down arrow to choose the letter. So let's say we wanted to just call this PRF. We would go to P. Once we chose the P, we then use the right arrow to get to the next letter, which we could then do R. Move to the next one. Move to F. Now, if you want to skip a space, you have to move towards the numbers. Once you get to 9, well, you'll see there's a space now. Now there's a space, then you can move to the next one. Once you're done typing in all the different letters and you're happy with the name that you have, you just press the gear setting again, and that will set the cycle for you. And then you'll see that the cycle is done. It will tell you exactly all the settings in the cycle. So it has the name, PRF, 2400 RPM. Again, this is just a fake setting to show you how to use it. Braking off. And it gives you the RCF also, which is important, especially when you wanted to use some custom cycle and you know what RCF you need. So that explains exactly the custom setting.